first topic is Steve Gonzalez. There's been a lot coming out about the Gonzalez family and like their comments and stuff on everything. Really, that's
everything.
Going on. The cameras in the courtroom, which he did interview with Brian Enton on Twitter or X,
which was interesting.
And
watch our live stream.
Yes, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, I wanted to mention the Daily Mail article. There's also like a New York Post article where I think it all has to do, which they didn't say in the Daily Mail article that this had to do with the 48-hour special that I saw. Maybe I'm missing it. But it all surrounds, and we talked about this on live stream too, that the parents are saying that Kaylee was trapped by the body of Maddie that night, and that she tried to escape the killer. So, trapped as she was trying to escape the killer. So Steve basically says she was stuck in her bedroom because of the property layout.
Yeah. I think he's just... I've watched a few content creators talk about this, and I think that he's talking about how the bed touched two walls. So the headboard was against the wall, and then her side was against the wall, and then the door was here. So there was no real exits. Right?
Right.
So I assume that's what he's talking about.
That is exactly what he's talking about. That the headboard was against the wall, the left side of the bed was against the wall, and then at the foot of the bed on the left side is the door.
And clarify what you mean, though, because I was confused, and the way that you worded it is what made me confused when we were talking about it on the live stream. You're talking about she tried to get help after the crime was committed.
Well, see, it doesn't clarify that in any of his comments or the article. It does not clarify that. I was theorizing. So I don't know if he means Maddie was literally getting attacked and she was trapped. What I assumed, personally, was that they both were attacked. Maddie was attacked, she was attacked, and then Maddie was on top of her, and they're also up against the wall, and her feet are at the foot of the bed, and then above her, so she couldn't, like, push and, like, fall off the bed so she could crawl or make noise or get to a phone. Like, she's literally stuck there in a corner with Maddie on top of her, and she's wounded, and Maddie's dead, and she can't get because, like, a dead body is heavy, guys. It's extremely heavy at dead weight, and she's injured on top of it, because Maddie's a little girl. You know, she's small. She's a small girl. Which I don't mean like child, but like, you know, she's tiny. So what I assumed was that she's hurt. She can't find any way to roll off the bed or push Maddie off of her, so she couldn't get help, so she died there.
Yeah, see, and what I was assuming was the other way, which makes me feel like, why is this being brought up? Because if somebody's... And what I mean by that, okay, and I'm not trying to be harsh towards her father, Mr. Goncalves, but, like, they've been in the media a whole lot, okay? So when I'm looking at some of the statements they make and I'm scrutinizing their statements the same way I scrutinize anybody's, it's not like I'm singling him out or anything, it makes me feel like, is he trying to make her stay relevant for a reason? Is there something else he knows that makes him feel like he needs to keep bringing her up and the situation up? Is it making his loss easier? Like, these are the questions I'm asking. Then when I look at this statement, the first thing I think is, well, yeah, the suspect came in the door. It doesn't matter what room she's in. She's trapped. If the suspect comes in the doorway with a large bladed weapon, it doesn't matter where you're in the room, you're trapped. So, like, the importance of her being on the bed on the side that's against the wall, I started thinking, is he saying that to bring up some kind of lawsuit? Is he, like, what is the importance of this? Because all of the victims were trapped. All of them, you guys. Ethan was trapped, even if he was found outside the door in the hallway. They were all trapped because they were laying down, unsuspecting, and walked in on.
Yeah, maybe. So I agree with you, but I could see, like, if it were a bigger bedroom and it wasn't up against the wall, say the killer came in and tried to get Maddie, she could somehow go around and run.
I mean,
like,
she's not
in
a
a bigger room.
70-year-old woman that can't get up. I would assume, and I'm way...
That's a tiny room.
I'm
if the
way
killer's
older,
right there, I don't think you could get out.
I'm way older than her, and if I'm on the ground, I can pop up like this.
Yeah.
Immediately, just bam, pop up, right? So
Yeah.
she's younger than me by like a decade, and she would be able to just boom, pop up no matter where she's at, right? If I was her, and again, I'm not trying to say anything was done wrong, but if I was her and I just wanted to get out, I would think, look, I'm going to stand up on the bed and I'm going to try and jump over you, because if I hit your head, that's just winning for me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm just not understanding, which is totally possible.
Yeah, right, which they don't give, like, super detailed information. It further goes on to say they were sleeping in the same bed, which we already knew, and that they have evidence to show that Kaylee awoke and tried to get out of the situation, but was assaulted and stabbed. So I think you're right. My assumption was wrong, because they're saying she awoke, tried to get out, but then was assaulted and stabbed.
So, like, Kaylee was first then, and she woke up to Kaylee being ended and tried to get out?
No, Maddie was first, is what they're believing.
Okay.
It said Maddie was on the outside, Kaylee was on the inside, up against the wall, and Kaylee's mother thinks that the killer's plan went awry. Oh my gosh, it went awry.
Ari.
Yeah, so dumb. That's how I used to pronounce it as a kid when I read it in books. It's awry.
We need to make an emote, Ari.
Adding that he intended to kill 1, but killed 4. So I'm assuming what they're alleging is that, which from what I've seen suggested, is they think he came in to kill Maddie. That Maddie was the target, and Kaylee was a victim of circumstance because she wasn't supposed to be in that room. She's supposed to be in her own bedroom. You know what I mean? And that Ethan, like, are they thinking then that Ethan and Zana woke up, went to investigate? And I saw Harsh talk about this too. He said, does that mean that whoever said, it's okay, I'm here to help you, was to Ethan and Zana to get them to chill for a minute because they were up in arms, like, what's going on? And they were, like, because he was in the hallway. He was not asleep in bed. He was in the hallway. And Zana was found on the floor in the bedroom.
Well, there's some argument between if he was in the hallway or if he was back against the door because of the statement Hunter made. Or
regardless,
whatnot,
he wasn't in bed.
Yeah.
He was in the hallway regardless.
Yeah. And that audio from TrueCrime Design, and shout out to TrueCrime Design for that audio. It is so chilling. We hear a male voice say, "Let me out."
Oh my God, like he was trapped in
the room?
Like he was
trying to get out.
Oh, like maybe the killer locked him in there so they couldn't come out?
I don't know if I would assume
if they
that,
were
but
all
I think that they went after Zana first, right? And I don't know if they
but
were...
Zana was in the bedroom and he was...
I need to listen again, okay? But could it be a spur-of-the-moment situation and he's a runner, okay? Because we know that in any traumatic situation, you freeze, you run, or you fight. Those are the basic 3 options that happen. You freeze, run, or fight. His auto reaction might be run. Did he try to run out when he realized, like, what's going on? And his first reaction is run. And I always worry about bringing that idea up, because I've thought that ever since my question marks, whether he was inside the room or on the outside in the hallway, because I don't want anyone to look at that situation and be like, oh, he ran from his girlfriend. It's an auto reaction. You cannot control it. You freeze, you fight, or you run.
Especially if you are not conditioned or experienced in highly volatile life or death situations.
Right.
Like, you're going to have a natural instinct that is unique to you, which can be any of those, and that's what you're going to do.
And it's not decided. That's the important part.
Yes.
If we find out he did run out while they were being attacked and left Zana behind, he didn't decide to do that.
He could have came back.
Automatic.
What if he came back? And that's how he ended up in the hallway.
He could have.
Maybe after Zana.
He could have. I don't think he ran out because I feel like there would have been a call. Someone would have heard something. If I had to guess, just seeing how small those rooms were, I wonder if he went in to attack Zana, or maybe he attacked Ethan first, and Ethan, bam, jumped to real quick and tried to run away because that's his automatic reaction, and the killer is right behind him. You know what I mean? And depending on what the wounds are, did he reach around with a knife? Did he in the back? I mean, all of those things could have stopped him. Going back to what you were saying, Gonzalez has been pretty open about like the wounds and things like that with how bad it is. And he said that
Kaylee's were the worst.
Kaylee's were huge open tearing wounds where one of them was literally stabbed all the way through her and cut her liver in half. So I don't know how you would have ran from that. These wounds were so bad, you guys, that a description is a bomb going, like a blood bomb going off in there. And these aren't wounds that you could recover from. None of them could have been 911 called.
I'm feeling lightheaded after you saying that.
No, none of them could have been called.
Warning, because I never get lightheaded from stuff like that, but that made me lightheaded.
None of them.
Just kind of trying to re-envision the crime scene.
Yeah.
And then talking about the wounds, like, I don't know, it made me feel woozy for a minute.
Yeah,
like,
it's horrible. It's awful.
It is absolutely horrific. And the fact that their parents have to live with these details of what happened to their babies.
I know.
They're babies. Like, they birthed them and held them in their arms. Like, it's just so sad.
They raised them. They grew them. They
made them the wonderful people they were. Like,
they taught them about life, how to manage it, and they got them into college. They were on their way to be super successful adults. It seems like, based on the appearances, that they had really good parents. Even, I know that we did a drug theory video. I personally don't think that hinders someone in life.
They're super successful people who had tons of fun partying in college. I mean, come
on. And drug issues.
The world elite
addictions.
All had these drug issues and partying days.
Agreed.
And they're the most successful. So it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing.
I'm curious what you guys think about that statement, because in my opinion, I feel like there has to be some kind of additional information there. Like, is it about his daughter staying relevant? Is it he knows some kind of other information, the gag order doesn't let him get it out, so he's trying to get this out there? Because I do think that her dad means really well. I know where he stands with Bryan Kohberger, but he's also questioning that evidence. He believes Bryan Kohberger is the guy. And like we always say, that's great. We love people that have their own opinions. But at the same time, he's also saying it needs to be open so everyone can know the evidence.
Yeah. So one other thing they mentioned was they again doubled down like on them thinking it's Kohberger, and it said we're not just going to sit back and cross our fingers and pray we're going to get justice, as what Steve said. And his wife said he's going to feel all of us staring at the back of his head, and he knows what he did to our daughter. They also doubled down that he was following them on Instagram. And it appeared to be his real account, and they are undertaking their own investigation.
I think that's great. There's no such thing as too much evidence.
The Instagram thing, though, dude, I don't know.
It doesn't look like he was following them.
His lawyer, Ann Taylor, cannot just come out and say something like that. She could perjure herself and get his whole case messed up.
Yeah.
Get herself taken off case. She could get in trouble. It is not okay for a lawyer to come out and say something like that if it's not factual in any way. Okay? So Could they be getting fooled by a fake?
It was a sworn statement. They could. Oh, absolutely. How skilled are her parents with technology?
Or whatever investigator they have. Like, I want to know those details before I jump to that conclusion, because I'm not just going to say Ann Taylor's lying. That's absurd to say a lawyer just perjured herself, risked her whole career to lie about one thing.
And we say the same thing about the prosecution too, and they have a lot of red flags that pop up on their side with the missing DNA and everything. And we are quick to say that, hey, they're an attorney, they're a lawyer. Do we really believe that they're just going to throw their whole career away for this? More than likely, there's a flaw in the chain somewhere else, you know. And it goes the same for the defense in this situation.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's really the gist of the article. Like, they go into Zana a little bit and about the family saying, like, you know, the sister saying she spoke up for the first time, and I think it's going to be in the 48 hours about Zana and how amazing she was, and she couldn't believe that this happened to them. They were all good people, and, you know, that Zana fought back and had defensive wounds. But that's the gist of it.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal topic to touch on. There's been a lot of updates this week, so I think it's important to touch on all of them so that we can keep our viewers up to date.
Yep. And
with what we hope is unbiased coverage and opinions, you know, that's the goal here.
I want to know your theories on this information and what you think about Steve coming out with this information, what you think it means, because I'm not 100% sure. Like, I do think it gives us some clues to kind of, you know, jump off of about what actually was going on in that house at that time. And you're right, that audio is eerie, and it makes me think about that audio too. But yeah, let us know what you think. And next we're going to dive into some more comments that Steve made that are also very interesting.
Yeah.